I am David Wax, the chairperson of our JCC Association of North America's Board of Directors. Wow, what a day. Welcome to Monday evening. The theme for us all day has been partnership. So while I'll have a chance to share more in my formal conference address on Wednesday morning, I didn't want to miss the opportunity to stand here next to my partner, our acting president and CEO, Jennifer Mamlet. You know, there's something special that happens in relationships when you find yourselves working together through challenging times. And at a conference, it celebrates and honors the work of building strong lay professional partnerships. I'm proud that we can stand here as proof that when you work in tandem towards the same goal, you really are stronger together. Tonight, we continue this theme of partnership by showcasing one of our movement's great organizational allies, OneTable. In planning tonight's dinner, the J Summit Steering Committee recognized that there's no better way to get to know one another than to do so in good conversation over a family-style meal. And it's also with good company. They wisely turned to our friends at OneTable to help us design this custom-guided experience. In a few minutes, we'll introduce you to OneTable's founding CEO, Aliza Kline, to tell you a little bit more about how this will all work this evening. But allow Jen and I to answer the question you might all be asking yourselves. Really? Shabbat on a Monday? For so many of us, the practice of inviting friends and family to our Shabbat table is the ultimate expression of welcoming guests in our homes. And it is in that spirit that Jen and I welcome you to our home away from home for this week and to our Shabbat table this evening.
Thank you, David, and welcome, everybody. David and I are truly so grateful and happy to have this moment together with you at the end of our first day of J Summit 2024. If the ritual around preparing for guests at your Shabbat table is anything like mine, there's a flurry of activity at home up until the minute the doorbell rings. Beyond the obvious preparations of meal planning, challah baking, or in my case, challah buying, the home ritual set up in my house, we think about what we're going to talk about that night or what flowers will be on the table, and these days we have not had to look too far for topics to discuss. Because whether the week allows for a slow-paced sit-down evening with friends in the dining room or simply a quick candle lighting at the kitchen counter with my kids, every week we pause to talk about the moment we're living in. And we accept Shabbat's wonderful invitation to separate from time and space even for a little while, to disconnect from our day-to-day routines and worries, and for me, to mark the time, not only by reciting blessings, but counting them. Even in, or perhaps especially in challenging times, this becomes all the more central to my practice. And as David noted, and we've heard many times today, these are indeed challenging times. So as we come together tonight in partnership and in excitement for being together, know that I am indeed counting my blessings that we are all here. And just like at home, I'm also allowing myself to feel the pain that is with all of us all the time. Because when Jews are suffering anywhere, Jews everywhere are suffering. And just like JCCs so often use art as a gateway to bring people into important conversations, let us show you how we've used art to set the table and the tone for tonight. Today marks day 346 since October 7th, 346 long days that still too many hostages have been held captive in the dungeons of Gaza. The empty table in this room directly in front of me symbolizes our solidarity with Israel and our collective prayers for the hostages' safe return, as do the beautiful anemones on the table, the yellow ribbons and dog tags so many of us wear, the Israeli flags around the room, and so much more. The photographs on both sides of the room, I feel like a flight attendant, the photographs surrounding us are part of a larger exhibit called Humans of October 7th. This exhibit by photographer and journalist Erez Kaganovitz chronicles not just the pain, but honors the acts of bravery and resilience that emerged on and from that terrible day. David and I are deeply grateful to our friends at the Chicago JCC, who along with the photographer himself have made these images and the accompanying stories available to us this evening. I hope that you will please take some time to see the faces of these individuals and read their stories.
And finally, if you're like me, there's nothing that quite touches the soul like music. And this evening, as you approached the ballroom, you heard musicians Mina Zikri and Maria Paula Bernal Nino performing on two very special instruments. Violins of Hope is a traveling exhibit of instruments that were owned by Jews before World War II and rescued during and after the Holocaust. Each has been lovingly restored to once again play beautiful music, and whenever possible is accompanied by the many stories of its owner and history. How lucky for us that the JCC of Chicago received a grant to bring this exhibit to Chicago, and that they have so generously brought 4 such violins of hope to J Summit tonight for us. 2 are on display in the foyer, and I will now invite Mina to play another one for us. Mina will play Tefillah by composer Laura Auerbach. Let the instruments remind us of those who are not with us any longer. But like the music that now comes from their strings, let's let their memories reverberate in our souls and be a blessing for us all.
And with that, we move on to tonight's dinner program. I said earlier that Shabbat is a chance to pause, to separate from the week, and to count blessings. But there's one more practice about Shabbat that I treasure, and that is that we are taught that that practice, our practice of celebrating Shabbat, supersedes all other rituals, even mourning. So dafka, even as we ache and remember the pain of the world around us, we allow ourselves to experience the joy of being together and the joy of Shabbat. So let's do that tonight on a Monday. As David said so beautifully earlier, tonight we wanted to create an experience that would connect us to one another in meaningful exchange and offer something that could be replicated back home and back home at your JCCs. We turn now to our friends at OneTable, and I am excited for you to experience the magic of what they bring to Shabbat tables all over, and tonight to you and to me. Please join me in welcoming my friend, our partner, the founding president and CEO, and the driving force behind OneTable, Aliza Kline.
Anybody else ever forget to take off their apron until their guests arrive? Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, David and Jennifer, for inviting us. And here's a good connection story. Lisi Gottdenker, who I got to meet a couple years ago when she shared her incredible enthusiasm for the JCC movement and invited her to also become a supporter of the OneTable movement, realized that her best friend, her BFF, is Julie Franklin, who is the incoming board chair of OneTable. So, a few months ago, when we were all thinking about what a mess and painful world we live in, we thought, what would it look like to come together? And Lisi really thought maybe this friendship could create this kind of a celebration. So thank you for Lisi for always thinking about that, and for all of us for sustaining those friendships. It's really an honor to be here with you at J Summit. OneTable is celebrating our 10th anniversary this year, and like all of you, our business is bringing people together. We focus mostly on inviting young adults to Shabbat dinner tables so that they can feel the warmth and the welcome of having a seat at the table. In fact, our very first Shabbat dinners back in 2014 were held in partnership with the JCC in Manhattan. And now, 145,000 dinners later, we are starting new partnerships with JCCs. Shout out to Boulder JCC and the Marcus JCC in Atlanta, to name two. Shout, woo! Yeah. Because we're now starting a new offering called OneTable Together to create Shabbat opportunities for those of us a little bit more mature, 50 and above. In this room, in the adorable people wearing aprons, everybody wave, you see several people from OneTable's team from across the country and from across our organization. I invite you, they're gonna walk around, pick them, grab them by the apron, ask them to tell you about what they do at OneTable. They do all kinds of things, including Sophie, who is the daughter of Mark Shapiro, who is, as you know, a former member of the board and also the executive in Milwaukee. We like to keep it in the family, so that's Sophie. Sophie now works full-time for OneTable here in Chicago, where she creates like this, except all over the city, in people's homes, inviting each other. They'll be here throughout the course, and we really hope that you'll stop all of us and have conversations. I really think that Jen and David set this up beautifully, but I will add, more than the Jews have kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jews. Achad Ha'am, an early Zionist poet, was wise beyond his years, and his words ring true now more than ever. This ancient yet utterly timeless practice has sustained and connected our people for generations across time and space. Shabbat grants us permission to pause, to imagine the world not as it is, but as it could be. It invites us to appreciate the miraculous gift that is our lives. In fact, Shabbat is a gift to the Jewish people, but also to all of humanity. Just as the violins of hope call out to us as echoes from our past, stirring emotions and tethering us to those we lost, Shabbat transcends time itself. Okay, so we can all agree Shabbat is something we all need, and it's pretty good. And even though the room is filled with the spirit of Shabbat, and even though the joke has been made already 3 times, you might be asking yourselves, isn't it Monday? Oh, thanks for asking. Yes, in fact, it is. But here's good news. There is, of course, a Hasidic folktale to guide us now. So, I don't know if you know or have met Rav Zusha and Rab Elimelech. They're brothers. And they were what I would call Shabbat superhosts. They were actually Shabbos superhosts, right? They know what to do. And they were traveling and learning and living life. And wherever they were, every Friday, they would stop. And they would make sure that they had fresh challah and some gefilte fish, and they would go to the mikveh and change their clothes and put on their shtreimels and sing and dance and have the time of their lives. And they loved Shabbos so much. They loved it so much that like it was just high. Every time it was a high. Now, what do good students do? They wonder. And especially good students who don't want to let their ego get out of control, they wondered, are we making this up? Like, is there a chance that this is inauthentic? Like, we have just crafted this. So they did an experiment. And they did a Shabbat on a Monday night. And they went through all the effort and they had the gefilte fish, and they set the table, and they went to the mikveh, and they put on their stroimel, and they sang, and they danced, and they had the most amazing time, and guess what? It felt like Shabbos. It was so elevated and so beautiful. Oi gewalt. They had been fabricating the whole thing. It wasn't about Shabbos at all. So they go to the rabbi, their teacher, the Maggid of Mezrich. He's a good one. And he says, of course it felt like Shabbat. Where do you think Shabbat goes the rest of the week? It's always here. It was just up here. And you just elevated yourself to the experience Shabbos. So it's here for you, as long as you create the container for it. So with that, our full permission for you to enjoy and live in this moment, ki'ilu, as though it is Shabbat. And tonight, we are going to do our best to recreate that feeling. So you have a few things to make this easier. Your props on your table. At each seat, there's something that says menu and program. We have crafted the evening so that each course is tied to meaningful conversation. Shabbat is a time when we can have good, real talk. We can talk about where we're from, where our JCC is, and how great the weather is here in Chicago. But there's also an opportunity to go deeper. So on the back side, you'll see the 3 core principles of this gathering: power of partnership, power of leadership, and power of peoplehood. So each course is an opportunity to have that conversation. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes it's awkward to start a conversation or even lead ritual, especially with people you might know. So there is a host at every table. Hi, hosts. Raise your hand if you're a host. Aw, does everybody say hi to your host? Amazing. So your hosts, just like OneTable hosts, have volunteered. Thank you so much. And they are going to help make sure that the conversation flows. You generally want to put your host, the bigger talker, in the center of the table. Your ideal dinner party is about 6 to 8 people. These are things that we've learned after 145,000 dinners. And here's the thing. If you're not a host tonight, guess what you are? A guest. Now, there's good guest behavior and less good guest behavior. So part of being a good guest tonight is going to go with the flow. Enjoy that conversation as it comes. Stay at your table. It's really hard. We all want to schmooze with everybody, but tonight we're going to actually focus on this group and also know that each host is their own person. So last Friday, there were about 740 dinners hosted by young adults all over the country. We do about 30,000 per year. And let me tell you that each one looks and feels different. So each of your tables is also going to look and feel different. So one more time as a guest, we're going to stay in, we're going to follow the lead of that host, and we're going to be generative. Someone asks a question, go ahead and answer it. Lean in. And stay, because we're going to start the evening with ritual, and we're going to end the evening with ritual. We're going to truncate all of Shabbat. So we're starting with Shabbat dinner, and we'll end with Havdalah. That'll be your cue that it's time to go out of the room and do other things. So until then, we invite you to stay and be participants. Okay, we start any good Shabbat dinner by turning on Shabbat with the lights of the candles. I just need one prop, which would be matches. Are there here? Okay, so there's a set of matches and a candles at every table. So maybe the host wants to just point at somebody and say, okay, you're going to strike the match. Okay, so one person at the table is going to hold the matches. And when we're ready, we're going to lead this together. In my home when I was a kid, the job was to strike the match and turn off the lights at the same time and turning on Shabbat, which was thrilling. And the youngest person at the table gets to blow out the match. If you want to play that game, that's on you. I'm going to light, and then I'll lead the bracha. Blow it? You ready, folks? Baruch atah Havaya Eloheinu ruach haolam asher asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav etzivanu le'adlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. Hosts, you're on. How you feeling? I know, it's good, right? It's genius. God is a genius. God is a genius. God creates the world in 6 days, and then God's like, it is just not done yet. It's not done. It's not, we have a myth that God worked like crazy for 6 days and then takes a rest, and that's what Shabbat is. No. Shabbat is the completion of creation. The way we feel right now is at ease. Oh, what a relief. Once a week, you get to feel at ease. And that's how we are right now. So I'm grateful to the genius Rabbi Maggid of Mezrich, along with God, for helping create this moment and allowing us to access it as many times as we need. When you start an evening with ritual, you keep it going. You keep the holiness rolling. So with tremendous pleasure, David's going to step in, and then we're together going to enjoy Havdalah, to extend the sweetness of Shabbat just a little bit longer. All my friends, did you get to talk to many of my friends from OneTable? Where are they again? Where are my friends? Where are my team? Stand up. That's Amy Bebchik, our Chief Program Officer. That's Rabbi Adam Gandia, our Vice President for Program. That's Sophie Shapiro, who is our brand new Chicago Field Manager. Where is Rachel? There is Rachel Zilberfink, who is the National Director of our I didn't even talk about this, but we take our technology and we white label it, which means we customize it for all other kinds of organizations who are really interested in creating small group and community building. So Rachel can help you with that. And way back in the corner, oh, there is Susan. Susan Salzman is the National Director of OneTable Together, which is the program I mentioned earlier for people who are a little mature in their life, like me. So before we end Shabbat, we get to say Shabbat Shalom to each other. I encourage you to look everybody at your table and thank them for being here and for being such excellent guests. And I'm going to hand to David, and then we'll do Havdalah. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Aliza, and the team at OneTable, and our amazing table facilitators. I hope you feel like I feel, like it was sparkling dialogue. It was a wonderful conversation, being with new friends, old friends, and family. Wonderful. You know, it's Shabbat. So obviously it's a day of rest tomorrow, but that means no business, but we can still learn and we still can grow. And we can observe and take part together, and I very much enjoyed that. So at this time now, please join me in welcoming, we've all been about partnership all day long. Here is a very special, very essential J Summit partner for all of us. My pleasure to please welcome Addie Goodman, President and CEO of JCC Chicago, so she can give us a preview of tomorrow's experience at the Lake County JCC, and then we will move into Havdalah. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat on Monday is wonderful. Thank you for joining us here in Chicago. I did not order that traffic, but the weather is on me. We've been working really hard, Team JCC Chicago, to make a really special day for you tomorrow at our Lake County JCC, one of a bunch of JCC campuses here in Chicago, which you'll learn more about tomorrow. We have an early start with breakfast here in this room at 7 a.m. Buses to the Lake County JCC will board at 7:45 and depart promptly at 8 a.m. It is supposed to be a very warm, beautiful, summery day. Wear your camp clothes. That's for real. Shorts, tennis shoes, tank tops, whatever you would wear to camp. Get ready to experience partnership, leadership, peoplehood in action. We will have a community Boker Tov. It will feel like camp when you get off those buses. The J Summit group photo will be awesome, and you will all post it to everywhere that you post things. Dynamic workshops will feature sunrise camps. We are a partner and very proud. We just finished our second summer. Sheva and Elevated in one of our early childhood centers on that campus. And we will talk about our camp response to October 7th at our Garoon Gateway to Science, which is a beautiful, hands-on outdoor science park modeled after one at the Weizmann Institute in Israel. It's really cool. You will have a good time just exploring yourself. It's going to be an amazing day. Again, dress casual, walking shoes. We're going to have a great time, and I can't wait to see you at our J. Now it is my pleasure to invite my colleague and friend, Mike Goldstein, Executive Director of the JCC of Central New Jersey, to lead us in Havdalah to finish our Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, Mike.
Shalom. See you. Thank you. Good evening. Shabbat Shalom. Almost. Let's see how beautifully we can fill this room with our song. Please sing with me. Yai-da-dai. Yai-da-dai-da-da-da-da-da-da, yai-da-dai-da-da-da-da-da, yai-da-dai-da-da-da-da, 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei puri hagafen, borei puri hagafen. Yai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, 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 yai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei minei bisamim, borei minei bisamim. Yai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, 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 yai-dai-dai-dai, yai-dai-dai, yai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, 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 yai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei me'orei ha'esh, borei me'orei ha'esh. Yai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, 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 yai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavdil ben kodesh lecho, hamavdil ben kodesh lecho. Yai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, 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 yai-dai-dai-dai, yai-dai-dai, yai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, yai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, yai-dai-dai-dai-dai, yai-dai-dai-dai-dai. Shavua Tov, 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 Shavua Tov. Again, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov. A good week, a week of peace. A good week, joy increase. A good week, a week of peace, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase. Shavua Tov. Thank you.